You're listening to the Backroom Beer League podcast with your hosts, Jacob, Nigel, and Greg. Bringing you your fantasy sports content recorded from the back room. To stay up to date, follow us at BRBL Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and rate the podcast to show us your support. Now, here's Jacob, Nigel, and Greg to talk fantasy sports.
It's 7:33 p.m. on Monday, February 3rd, 2020. This is episode 3 of the Backroom Beer League podcast. I'm your host, Jacob.
I'm Nigel.
I'm Greg.
And what do we got going on this week? We had the Super Bowl yesterday.
Yeah, it's a little game.
The Chiefs pulling out the victory against the 49ers. Like I said before, I said last week, I wasn't even really that sad that I seen the Chiefs win because, well, we seen a comeback win in the fourth quarter, first of all. Then we got to see the 49ers try and come back late in the fourth, and although it wasn't successful, it was still a really good game, like, for both teams.
Boy, though, like, the only thing I noticed was when you got Jimmy G having to, like, move off his second read and, like, air it out over 5 yards, it didn't look hot.
No.
Like, that was the worst. That was his knock all season, too. And, like, the Chiefs kind of put him on blast.
Jimmy G actually had a solid game up until, probably, midway through the fourth quarter.
He looked like he was struggling to swim a little bit in the fourth quarter.
He ran out of gas.
He did run out of gas.
He couldn't keep up with Patty Mahomes when it came to the slingshot war that we knew it was going to come
Yeah,
to.
it went to some shots of him on the bench that the camera pulled out, and
Frustrated.
he looked frustrated. He looked like
Defeated.
Yeah, like he didn't look like he was in the mindset late into the game like he should have been. And I know that witnessing a Kansas City comeback now that you're down and you have to fight every minute of the game to come back and try and overcome what you just saw. Well, yeah, that's hard, but it looked like he just gave up, flat out gave up with about 5-6 minutes left to go in the game.
I mean, like, with 10 minutes left, some of the, we had a bunch of boys over watching the game, and I know some of them were saying, I think it's done. And I said, yes, last week, I thought eventually the defense would not be able to keep up with Patty Mahomes. And even then last night, I said, you know, that Chiefs offense can, with Patty Mahomes, Tyreek Hill can drive down the field in a minute and a half and 80 yards and score. I said, I'm not counting them out. And just in the snap of the fingers, they were 44-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill, had them down the field.
That was the play of the game. That changed everything. As soon as they completed that pass, it was a brand new ball game, right?
Up until that point, Pat Mahomes didn't really have that one clutch play. He didn't have that one clutch throw that we were expecting. We seen a few, tosses, and he was handing the ball off all night. We didn't really see that big arm come out to play until that, and then it picked up. You've seen the Kansas City comeback.
Yeah, he played balls out in the fourth quarter.
His pocket presence, man, like, he reminds me so much of Russell Wilson in the fact, like, you think you have him, and then out of nowhere, he flies out of the pocket.
And he's not known for being a scrambler. He's known for having that bazooka cannon of an arm.
It's not that he was never not a scrambler. Like, he's fast. He just wasn't known for, like... The Niners have guys who can move out of the pocket. The Niners have shut down this year. Like, they shut down Aaron Rodgers twice.
Yeah, Nick Bosa has cornerback speed with a defensive tackle strength.
But some of those runs that Mahomes was making last night,
foolish.
It looked like Action Jackson out there. He was so confident in the way he was running down the field. He scanned, nothing available. He just ran. Full tilt forward.
Patrick Mahomes is what if someone could create a prototype quarterback in a lab. That is who you create. He has the bazooka of an arm. He has the attitude. Listen, he went for what like a 10 or 11 yard run, and him and a DB, they cracked into each other. And Mahomes stood up and he was barking in the face. You need that character. You need that buyer with the skill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm glad that Kansas City won because we were all wanting Andy Reid to get that Super Bowl ring. And he did.
Double cheeseburger.
And the smile on his face at the end of the game, once they actually nailed it and they knew they won for sure. Like, it was obvious they were going to win. But once it was fully materialized in front of Andy Reid, you could see that smile with that mustache. Oh my God. It was heartwarming.
One thing that's kind of like I noticed is Kyle Shanahan's now been in 2 Super Bowls, and in both those Super Bowls,
He called the offensive plays.
late leads were blown.
Yes.
And I get in this one, but like in both of them too, like the offense, like the 49ers offense, fourth quarter came to a screeching halt. And then obviously the Atlanta offense stalled out and caught on fire.
I wouldn't even say that you're on the scoreboard. The 49ers offense stalled off, but I think the Chiefs defense, specifically Frank Clark and
Honey
Chris
Badger.
Jones and the Honey Badger, locked down in the fourth quarter.
Like I'm not Kyle Shanahan's a great coach, and I'm not shitting on him, but it's in like I feel like if he's gonna like now that's gonna be like a title he's gonna have to shake.
You got to win those big games, dude.
Like if you do that twice, he's now gonna have that looming over his head, like the can't close the game out. La 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 la.
It's almost like you don't want to say it's gonna hinder him down the road, but that kind of thing hangs over your head. It's almost like the Kershaw effect of blowing saves or blowing the game when it counts pitching. You have a record that you've shown number of times to be a choker in these situations where everything's on the line. It's obviously the same for coaches too, because the whole team pretty much runs at your beck and call, and when you've screwed up more than once, that affects your play calling. That affects your judgment. That is going to affect him going forward. And I mean, for teams that look to hire coaches that have that kind of record too, it could affect him getting a job down the road.
Yeah. See, the thing is with the 49ers is that they went from 3-13 to 13-3 and in the Super Bowl, but I think they could go from 13-3 to 5-11. Like or something like that. I think they have that capacity.
It could be that kind of. I mean, it's not the same size of a comeback, obviously, but the Atlanta Falcons effect, where they got screwed by the Patriots. They haven't been
different teams.
They haven't been the same team since.
Part of the Falcons' problem though lies with ownership. Like that's
Obviously.
where and GM, like their
But
GM
who was in Atlanta when that happened?
But Kyle left right after too.
Yes.
Like that's where you look. That offense hasn't been the same. Kyle Shanahan's gone.
True.
But Dan Quinn, especially their GM, like the Atlanta's GM, has not been hot. John Dorsey in San Fran has had a really nice draft record.
They're in a downward spiral.
The problem, I think, is the fact that the Niners paid the Jimmy G's a lot of money. And this isn't a knock, but he is a system quarterback.
He can win you a Super Bowl, though.
Oh, he can. I'm not saying he's not.
He wasn't the reason they lost last night.
I just don't think...
Yeah, Jimmy G wasn't the reason they lost last night, really.
No, he was not the reason. He had a great game in the first 3 quarters.
Who didn't have a good game? Richard Sherman.
No,
the guy talked a lot about how he was a man corner and people were criticizing him wrong.
Revis right.
Sammy Watkins torched him. It wasn't even close. No. There's nothing wrong with being a good zone corner, but don't play man if you can't play man.
And that's something that Robert Saleh is going to have to use, right? He's going to have to realize that what he has.
Oh, but Robert's, he's so smart, man.
I love him.
Their defense is nuts.
Don't get me wrong.
The fact that they were 5th in sacks with the lowest blitz percentage in the league with the young defensive front four.
Nick Bosa is the next one up. He's
He's
filthy. He's just...
And if his brother comes out with him, I mean...
That's the only serious rumors.
Only reason I don't see Joey going is because the 49ers don't have a lot of cap room. And Joey's demanding cap.
Okay, but here's the thing.
I think they're going to move cap around.
They'd be dropping Armstead or Buckner.
But both of them
they're going to free up the cap room if Joey wants to go there.
They can drop Richard Sherman tomorrow if they want to.
How many times do you have an opportunity to field 2 brothers who are great?
2 of the best 5 defensive linemen.
Yeah.
They also, if I'm correct, both play on the same side of the line. Which, depending on scheme, can be hard to switch.
When you're like that, Nick Bosa, I know Dez could play on both sides of the line.
I don't know if you'll see Joey...
Joey took some snaps at outside linebacker for the Chargers this year.
I don't know if you'll see Joey leave.
I'd also like to point out the fact that Patrick Mahomes did break the Madden curse. He was on the cover this year. he finally he got what he wanted. He got to say he's going to Disneyland when he wins the Super Bowl.
That was great.
That was great. But ultimately, the game before it even started, we said this is going to be a great game no matter what. I don't really care who wins. It's going to be a battle from both sides. But it ended in a coaching battle, and San Francisco got out-coached by Andy Reid.
Oh, for sure. Well, another thing that happened this weekend is the NFL honors. And this year, there were a few that I disagree with. MVP, Lamar Jackson, everybody knew it was coming. I also agree with Offensive Player of the Year being Mike Thomas.
100%, man.
Defensive Rookie of the Year, no problem with that going in Nick Bosa. There are a few that you could easily go up for the debate, though. And I'm going to start with Coach of the Year. I don't think it should have been John Harbaugh. I think it should have been Kyle Shanahan or Sean McDermott, and I'm going Sean McDermott.
I think it should have been Sean McDermott.
I was just gonna. Yeah.
He took the Bills to their first 10-win season in I think 20 years, because I think it was in the it was 99.
But I mean, what's to be expected from Bills fans? I mean, you're not expecting him to win it. If he doesn't win it, then are you really that pissed off? Like, the Bills have been snubbed by everybody. They've been counted out by everybody because they've been trashed for so long, and once they finally do good, are they really going to get recognized for it? No.
Like, Greg Roman.
They need consistent.
Is what turned that Ravens team around. It wasn't Harbaugh. But
it was the system that.
Yeah, people give Harbaugh the credit for creating the system, but he didn't create it at all. Roman created it.
And another award that could be easily contested is Stephon Gilmore won Defensive Player of the Year. I think he deserved it, but I think you could have easily handed that to Tre'Davious White or T.J. Watt.
I think I would have given it to Gilmore, man.
Because, I'm not saying Gilmore didn't deserve it, but T.J. Watt had, a Defensive Player of the Year season, and so did Tre'Davious White, and nobody talked about it.
Yeah.
Tre'Davious White and Gilmore almost had identical stats, except Tre'Davious White, I think, only let up 1 touchdown to Gilmore's 2.
Yeah. See, when I watched the Week 17 game between the Patriots and the Dolphins, and I don't know if they just treated the game as a write-off. They got beat, but Devontae Parker absolutely exposed Stephon Gilmore for the entire game. Racked up 100 yards and a touchdown. Absolutely exposed the guy. I'm not saying that one game against a very underrated receiver is something that you can just strip an award away from him, but it was something, man.
Smokey Brown did it too. John Brown. Yeah. Tre'Davious White played a really, again, another Bill, but I still think, I'm not upset Stephon Gilmore got it, but it's another one. No. And then the biggest, I think, surprise and one that could be argued is Offensive Rookie of the Year going to Kyler Murray.
I mean, I don't know. Offensive Rookie of the Year, it's a bit of a surprise here, but could you really give it to Josh Jacobs? I mean, he missed a number of weeks. If he had been present in those weeks, he would have put up the points to win it, but he just wasn't there. I'm
not mad that Kyler Murray won it by any means, but I would have still given it to Josh Jacobs. But Kyler winning it,
Arizona's going to have a great team out there.
And Cliff Kingsbury's he's a legit coach.
I'm really happy Kyler won it because Kyler had a good season that nobody gave him.
Everyone shit on him.
I don't know why Daniel Jones was in the media so much, leading the entire league in fumbles. Kyler Murray played lights out with an out of I love Larry Fitzgerald, but way out of prime. Christian Kirk and a running back carousel until Kenyon Drake showed up, and he won games. Everybody gave him knocks that he wasn't tall enough and all this horse shit, and he played really well. I think it's fine that he won that award.
Yeah, I'm certainly not mad at it. My only thing would be Josh Jacobs played on a very consistent level, and for a rookie running back to do that behind a pass protection heavy offensive line that the Raiders have.
I completely agree with you because last week we talked about it too. We talked about Josh Jacobs. We talked about who's going to be top 5 picks in fantasy next year, and Josh Jacobs easily could be one of my top 5 fantasy football picks.
Pretty close, man. Pretty close.
It's really close, and I think that he could have won it this year, but he didn't put in the time. He didn't have the time to put up those points that he needed to prove he could win it. And I mean, Kyler had a great year. You can't really knock him for that. So if they give it to Kyler because he played the actual number of weeks required to show that he could put it up, and Josh Jacobs missed a few because he was injured, then,
Credit to Kyler. I really liked your point, Nigel, about them not having many running backs until Kenyon Drake showed up. And what week was it?
Well, some told me it might have been week 9.
No,
because week 8's trade deadline, but it was right before trade deadline.
it was right before, because I had him in fantasy, and then he got moved, and I dropped him.
Bad mistake.
I know.
But when you're a rookie quarterback, you live off the play action. You need a solid running back to produce.
And the fact
O-line. In an O-line. He has neither. Just like props to him for putting up like a pretty good year. Like that's not even a rookie year. That's like if you got that into your starter every year, you can win games. They just don't have anyone around him. That's why they don't win.
The only other award to talk about, and I don't think this is contested, Ryan Tannehill, comeback player of the year.
Oh, 100%.
Nobody's arguing with that.
Comeback
Deserved
team of the
it.
year. I mean, did anybody really think
Went
that?
from 2-6 to 9-7 and a wild card, and then beat the one. I mean, the
Who thought
the one
Tennessee
and
could
the
pull off a
3
win
seed
against the Patriots? Nobody
Not
thought
me.
that would
And
be.
then
I had them.
Ravens.
I thought I had them in the playoffs at the start of the year, just like they made it in 6th seed. But I did not think they were going to go 2-6 and then climb back. I thought they were going to end up 9-7 through like what they normally do, literally split games down the stretch.
Yeah.
But
So sadly, the NFL is over for the year. So we're going to do what all dumb analysts do and speculate way too early for next year. So I've got a little thing I've got set up here. It's called, we're doing an early fantasy QB analysis. So I'm going to name quarterbacks, and these are guys, would you take them in with a top, like, would you draft them with the first 10 QBs?
it's like a game show. Here we go.
Yeah, and all of us are going to put in. I'm going to start with Kyler Murray.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree, draft. Let's keep Joe Burrow.
Late first.
I don't think I take him top 10.
I'd leave that
Top
late.
10.
I mean, like out of your top 10 QBs. I don't
Oh
think you take him.
no, God no.
That's what I mean. Tom Brady.
No.
No.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers.
Yes. Not as my starter. I'd take him as a backup.
Yeah,
I always have 2
he'd
quarterbacks
be
in my
QB2
roster.
on the team, but he'd be there.
Josh Allen.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm taking
He's
Josh
starting to
Allen.
run now, man.
Josh Allen on my bye week dropped 40 points. Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Yes. Although, like,
There's due for regression,
Due
but those
for
rushing
regression,
yards are so
but
important.
Okay,
Action
what's
Jackson
what's
can
his
run.
regression going to be from 140 yards rushing a game
that's
to
what
like
I'm. That's
88?
what I'm
Still
saying.
nuts.
People think he's going to do this like off a cliff regression, but if you
He's
get a
still
guy
gonna be
that can
good.
break records like he did this year, you're not going to see some sort of huge slump in his.
Do
next
you
year.
take Phillip Rivers on a new team?
Where does he go?
We're going to go hypothetical. He goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes. Look at those targets, man. Are
I'm
you
with
joking?
Greg. O.J. Howard, one of the fastest tight ends in the league.
Yeah.
Mike Evans
I tend to
and
agree.
Chris Godwin, probably the best wide receiving core in the league. Just had nothing like Winston. Yeah, they'd probably catch about like 100 yards a game.
Is Phillip Rivers? Was his?
With Bruce Arians? I
Man,
think he does.
but like
I think
he had Ken
plays.
Wisenhunt as an O
Yeah,
coordinator.
but he's old man Rivers. He is literally old man Rivers.
Yeah, but
and
like-
is old man Rivers an old man Rivers problem, or
You
was
could
it an
put
LA
Peyton-
Chargers problem?
You can put Peyton Manning on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right
The
now.
difference
and he would
is
throw
Keenan
yards to
Allen's a
Mike
good
Evans.
receiver, but Keenan Allen's not a fast receiver. So there's short routes. Keenan Allen's like a route runner, but he had no speed.
Mike
if you can
Evans
get him
is drop heavy.
Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I think I'd take Phil Rivers.
Even with the pieces that he did have last year, like some of the judgment calls that he made in games where they were needing a touchdown pass, they were on the line, first and goal, and he was throwing bad passes. He was making horrible judgment calls last year. I don't know. I mean,
Look at the secondaries in his division, though.
yeah,
Like he's playing with but outside of Oakland, he's playing against Chris Harris, one of the top corners in the league.
And Justin Simmons
Playing
is sick.
Yeah, and then he's got to go play the Honey Badger twice a year. Like I think, and like if he goes to Tampa Bay, his best secondary he's got to play is the Saints,
But
which
they're pretty lowly.
outside of Marshawn Lattimore, that's not.
He wants to leave. So
Another Drew. Do you take Drew Brees?
yes, like you gotta.
well,
you
if he
gotta.
comes back for another year, yeah.
Yeah.
I would. Why wouldn't you?
I picked him up after his injury, and he was scoring consistent 25, 30 points a week for me.
Yeah.
The last quarterback I'm gonna say before we there's two quarterbacks actually. Do you take Carson Wentz?
No.
No.
No, you do not.
Wait. I would take Carson Wentz if they got a solid receiver in free agency or the draft. If not, no.
Do you take Baker Mayfield?
Yes.
No.
You know what? I'm with Greg on this one. Got rid of Freddie Kitchens, which was
I'm telling you right now, Freddie Kitchens was Baker Mayfield's only problem.
Like, you can have all the wide receiver talent you want, but when your coach is drawing up plays on his
but what's
Pittsburgh
the OBJ situation?
Yeah,
He'll
but
be
he's still
back.
Even if he leaves, he still has Jarvis Landry.
Freddie Kitchens out here drawing plays. Okay, Jarvis and OBJ, you're gonna run streaks because you're good.
There's also David Njoku, underrated as hell.
He's also underrated. And
I'd like to see Baker do
Chubb.
really well
Kareem
now
Hunt.
that Freddie Kitchens is gone. But Baker, honestly, I feel could be one of these guys that just he lives on the hype, and then once he actually is found out to be shitty, like he was this past season, he never fully recovers from it. He gets eaten up by the bad season that he had, and he can't really
I would
come
say
back from
there's
that.
potential for that, but I do think he bounces back, man.
I lied. There's one last quarterback. Because he had a breakout season this year for fantasy. Do you take Dak Prescott?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
You
do.
I think you do, but I think he's going to
New
slow
coach in
down.
Dallas. Why not?
Do you think he's
Not
gonna
offensive,
have
though.
Do you think he's gonna have a pretty good,
True.
pretty solid regression?
The only thing I think he's going to have a bigger regression, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper has led the league since 2016 in drop passes. That's not a good stat to have.
No.
And that game against Stephon Gilmore, he was non-existent. If you're going to be an elite receiver, you've got to DeAndre Hopkins even got shit going. You got to beat those guys.
They missed Cole Beasley. Something terrible. The Cowboys.
Oh my God, he tore the Cowboys up when the Bills played them.
Yeah, I know, but they missed him. In that offense, they missed that slot option. Who was their slot option this year? Tavon Austin?
I think it was because Gallup played as a deep threat.
Yeah, he played as a second deep threat.
So
Cooper.
football's done, but let's go to, I guess, right now, I'd say, the biggest sport in North America now that football's done. Greg, what's going on in basketball?
Actually, I'd like to point out the fact that football is over. Baseball season is
Hasn't
just
started
around the
yet.
corner. It's 1 week until pitchers and catchers report. I'd just like to point that out. Biggest sport now that football is done.
Actually, you'll get your turn.
Jesus.
So
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in basketball because we were literally this weekend's a halfway point. We're at the All-Star break this weekend, right? So one thing that I was kind of wanting to discuss was the All-Star teams themselves and who was on the teams and who got snubbed. And I want to know if, Jacob, you don't really have any say in this as a homer standpoint because no Nick is ever even near worthy making the All-Star team.
Marcus Morris
Come
is
on,
the
man.
best thing we have.
I knew he was going to say it.
And he's not even close.
He's not even close.
No.
So, so the starters, we already talked about them last week. But starters for the East, obviously Giannis, Embiid, Siakam, Trae Young, and Kemba Walker. In the West, it was LBJ, Anthony Davis, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Luka Doncic. All those guys are fine. Obviously, they're going to be in the game.
I like seeing Trae Young on there.
I like seeing Trae Young on
Young's
there
had
too.
a good year.
And Siakam being a Raptor, I'm gonna go negative homer here, and I'm gonna say that Jimmy Butler should have been a starter over him. But nonetheless, Jimmy Butler's on the reserves anyway.
Yeah. So was Lowry made it too, didn't he?
Yeah, he should have. He definitely should have been on there. But some of the guys from the East that I think definitely maybe not necessarily got snubbed, but it's just unfortunate that they're not on the team. Bradley Beal is the biggest snub in the All-Star game.
Bradley Beal's been putting up points.
Yeah.
this year.
He's averaging 26, 5, and 6 a game.
Yeah.
And Chris Middleton made the All-Star team,
Really?
averaging 19.8, 3, and 5.
Did Brandon Ingram make it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I just think Bradley Beal, the only reason he didn't make it is because he's on the Wizards.
Yeah, that's fair.
Is that the reason? Is that a
that-
consensus?
That's a shitty way to go about it, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really think it was. I mean, I've shit on Atlanta a lot, and Trae Young's on there. So
Yeah, but
There's a difference
Trae Young's
between
putting
Bradley
up
Beal and
ridiculous
Trae
numbers.
Young.
yeah,
That's
Trae.
different.
But I don't know if you're gonna make it by team. then-
Jaylen Brown also got snubbed.
Yes, I did hear about that.
Jason Tatum, he should have made it over his own teammate,
Yeah.
Jason Tatum. I
Yeah.
think this isn't because I'm not hopping on this little bandwagon for the guy. But I genuinely think that Derrick Rose got snubbed.
Yeah, I got to say that. D Rose.
He should have made the team over. Listen, all three of those guys I just named should have made the team over Chris Middleton.
Yeah, you're right.
When you're on the problem with any Detroit sports team is the minute you go there, you're unnoticeable.
Also, I'm pumped that Sabonis from the Pacers made the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Finally, that guy's getting some credit. Because he got traded in that the Oladipo. He went with Oladipo over there.
Right, he did.
And he's been nothing but productive for what is expected. And he's got no credit because he's in Indiana.
Yeah. I told you boys that the Knicks won over the Jazz. It was actually the Pacers. And I watched the highlights from that game. And yeah, I never think of the Pacers. I never really take them into account as an NBA team, but Sabonis is actually doing great this year.
Yeah. You know who else made the team that Bradley Beal should have made the team over? Ben Simmons.
Yeah, Ben Simmons really done that
it's
much
all
this year?
the name, dude.
He can't shoot.
It's the name.
Yeah, he finally started hitting threes this year.
Yeah, no,
and that's why.
Don't get me wrong, fantastic player.
Yeah.
But his numbers just aren't there. The 76ers are underperforming.
He's kind of like a Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper puts up points, and he can put up points when he's in a good swing.
I just don't understand it because Ben Simmons is underperforming.
But there's holes in his game, and Ben Simmons has those holes in basketball.
The guy's underperforming, and his team's underperforming. Where's the justification about him making the All-Star game over Bradley Beal? Yeah, his team's not good, but he's still putting
Bradley Beal is actually capable.
Huge snub.
Problem
Huge
is
snub from that team.
It's all popular. A lot of it's popularity.
Yeah, but that fan vote has very little count. It's like,
what is it in the NBA?
Well, they were voting Caruso and Taco
Because I know,
Fall.
I think if I'm correct, I know how much is it in the NHL.
What?
How much is it in the NHL?
I don't know.
Because I know
it's not a lot of.
I know the NFL. It's a third. It goes coaches a third, players a third, fans a third.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I just want to say to the people who vote Alex Caruso and Taco Fall into the games as a joke, go to hell. You realize that these genuinely go to hell. These guys are getting paid nasty bonuses.
Yeah.
At least $1 million bonuses on their contracts if they make the All-Star game. And you're snubbing it because, this guy is 7'6" and named Taco. And this guy's young, white, has a last name Caruso and has a bald spot and he's 23 years old.
Yeah.
Stop. You're actually
No, you're actually
very right.
You're right on because
you're a cancerous fan.
We talked last week about All-Star games and how some All-Star games have just been so poison. Like I said, the NHL All-Star game has just been poison.
Yeah, because that
mostly due to the format. But when you have people voting for Caruso and voting for people like Taco Fall just because of the name and because of the comedic effect of voting for them for whatever reason, I don't even. But what does that serve? What does voting?
It
for
serves
Caruso
no purpose
serve?
except to chuckle to yourself.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. It's kind of I'm kind of losing off the top of my head, but I don't think Taco Fall has even stepped foot on more than 20 games this year.
I don't
on
think
the
he
floor
has either.
So what the hell, NBA? Why is he even eligible? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there needs to be
Caruso averages 4 points a game, and he was if you just went on the fan vote, he's the sixth man in the West.
There aren't really any other players in the league like Caruso and Fall that people vote for. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't agree with it either. But
it's John Scott should never have been in the NHL All-Star game.
You can't really police it. If Taco Fall only plays 20 games and he gets voted for, you can't really police that. We have to play more than 30 games to get at the All-Star game.
Are they beauties? Of course they're beauties. John Scott's a beauty. But
he's not an NHL player anymore.
It's one of these things where if guys didn't get bonuses and they didn't take this shit to heart, it wouldn't be such a big deal. But Bradley Beal just lost out on millions of dollars because Milwaukee put Chris Middleton in.
The way a lot of these people say it is, after you make your first one, they don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
But it's that first one, especially when you put up a season that's huge and you get fucking left out for a popularity contest.
Also, Bam Adebayo and Sabonis, and I think Tatum. All three of them is their first All-Star game.
That's good. I like when you get new faces in, but I hate when it's forced.
Adebayo
deserves it.
He's playing real well. Anyway, so that's the East, and in the West, there's My snubs, Devin Booker should be in the All-Star game.
Who do you think he should have
Devin
taken?
Booker is
Russell Westbrook.
so much more deserving.
Yeah.
Devin Booker, like you said, it could very well be a team thing. He's in Phoenix. Nobody talks about Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares about Phoenix. Devin Booker has actually put up such good points this season.
Like, I'm gonna go anti-Homer as a Rockets fan. I wouldn't be upset if Russell Westbrook didn't.
Russell
touch it.
should not have made the All-Star game.
But Russell Westbrook's only played every other game and has only really been playing well as of recent. Like, he did not play well to start the year at
He
all.
only made the All-Star game because he's a 2-time MVP and his name is Russell Westbrook. His
name is Triple Double Man because that's all he was known for.
No, but Russell Westbrook should not be there because he's a product of the environment that he's in. I mean, he's playing with James Harden. Do you think he's not going to put up some points? Yeah, he's going to put up points, but he doesn't deserve to be in an All-Star game.
He's talented and he's still, I think, one of the best, better players in the league. But this year, no.
Another snub was Karl Anthony Towns.
Really?
I see a lot of debate about Cat being.
Well, there's only two.
Yes or
there's only
no.
two centers on the West team.
Oh,
I hate that they do that.
Really? I didn't know that.
Who are they?
They are Rudy Gobert and Nikola Jokic.
See, I don't think you could take away from Rudy, though. I think Rudy should have made it.
Jokic is special. I argue take one of the guards out, like Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
But
you could easily make room for him.
yeah, there's not even a center on their starting lineup because Anthony Davis is a power forward, as much as people don't want to like.
Anthony Davis is a fucking asshole. Not actually. I'm just talking about the fact that whenever I play against him in 2K, he ruins my life.
All right, so the NBA trade deadline's coming up pretty soon, and there are reports that have been surfacing over the past couple of days that the Celtics are in big on two players, both centers.
D-Rose?
No,
not D-Rose.
No, D-Rose is going to the Clippers or Lakers, but if he goes at all, I don't think he will. The Celtics are big after Steven Adams and Clint Capella.
Honestly, I think if they get
Steven Adams is better, but I feel like the Rockets are willing to take less for Capella than Thunder would be taking.
Yeah.
I hope they don't get rid of Capella because he's the only.
OKC's not going to want to give up Steven Adams.
The only part of defense that the Rockets have is Clint Capella.
Yeah, if OKC were to give up Steven Adams, the Celtics would have to give up either Jaylen Brown.
They'd be asking
Jason
a lot.
Tatum,
honestly,
I could see Jason Tatum being
OKC
requested in that trade.
Yeah.
OKC blew up for rebuild, so do they just take draft picks?
They didn't blow it, man.
They got rid
You're
of.
not gonna get anything for Chris Paul, so you might as well use him.
No, I mean, but yeah, they got rid of Chris Paul. I mean, they got rid of Westbrook and PG and got Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's a topic that I've been on the bandwagon for a long time, ever since it happened, first week of the year. Here's why I think that Stephen Curry getting injured and being put out until late March is the best possible thing that could have happened to the Golden State Warriors. Klay Thompson's out for the year. Draymond Green, he's a good player, but he's not a second guy.
No.
Right? With Steph getting hurt, it almost guarantees that the Warriors collect a top 3 pick, right? They're literally last in the league right now. Say they get that number 1 pick, and they go out and they get a James Wiseman, a generational talent center. Next year, you're looking at your starting lineup being Steph, Klay, Draymond, James Wiseman, and whoever the hell they trade D'Angelo Russell for.
That's pretty dangerous.
They go from being champs to down for 1 year and right back up to the top of the league.
I thought people were done when they called that dynasty over. Like that team, that's
it's
too
not
much
over.
talent.
It's not over.
In basketball,
When you still have Klay and Steph at your disposal to do whatever
You have
you
one
want
of the
with,
best-
Two of the top 3 shooters
you
of
are
all time.
not over. You
Steph
are
is one of
not
the best
done.
pure shooters we've seen.
Steph is the best pure shooter,
Like,
bro.
it's
He
nuts.
is. Yeah.
It's just, I think it's the best happy accident that could have happened.
Yeah, and it also makes, when big stars get injured and their team sucks, it also kind of kicks management in the ass and says, okay, you've got to build more than just.
But do you know what a possible trade is for D'Angelo Russell? They trade him to the Timberwolves for Wiggins and a first. That's what's being talked about. So you look at that Golden State Warriors team and tell me that a starting lineup.
Wiggins in Golden State would be weird.
Yeah.
He helps on the defensive end, though.
Oh, I know. And I'm not saying
it's
it would be
him
a
or
bad
Robert
thing.
Covington.
I'm not saying that would be a bad thing, but like ever since Andrew Wiggins came into the league, you just associate him automatically with Minnesota.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, he's stuck over in Minnesota.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. You look at that, and even if they get Robert Covington, who's another spot up, solid 3-point shooter, great defender, you could argue that Covington could be better for that team than Andrew Wiggins. I would say that I'd take Wiggins because they lack athleticism. They lack athleticism with losing KD and Harrison Barnes in the past. So, but you look at that starting lineup, that could be Steph Curry at the 1, Clay at the 2, Wiggins at the 3, Draymond at the 4, Wiseman at the 5, and then they still have a first-round pick to give, which in Minnesota ought to be a top 10. Man, oh man.
This is why I hate being. This is why it's like being a Rockets fan. I fucking hate the West. Like.
Shut up, man. You're not a Knicks fan. Shut up.
Yeah, but I'm a Devils fan.
Yeah.
Raptors are second in the East. Can we all just give like a...
That
yeah,
is
and they're
impressive.
still going to get slapped by Giannis.
Yeah, Nigel. Well, at least we'll know what it's like to get out of the first round.
Yeah, you're right. Listen, only one of my or two of my 4 sports teams even touched past the first round, so we're going places.
Yeah. I'm also hyped for the dunk contest.
That's always fun.
Dwight Howard's back in it. Superman. Got Aaron Gordon, who's in it. Derek Jones Jr. And then the final spot right now is being decided between John Morant and Zach LaVine.
Go get Ja in there, please.
LaVine's probably going to turn it down. They'll give it to Ja. That's electric.
Like
Ja in his rookie year going into the dunk contest. That's
rookie of
fire.
the year.
That's fire.
It is
Unless
sick.
Ja's leg bends over his head.
That's what happens when you put your nuts up the nostrils of Kevin Love.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Do you think Kevin Love's going to Portland at the trade deadline?
Yeah, if he does, they're going to be dangerous because they're sitting in the 9th seed, right, in the West. Very easy to get back in the playoffs. They had that slow start. Damian Lillard's averaging 48 points over his last 5 games.
On a revival tour.
Melo is on a revival. Lillard has
starting to play well.
He's looked sloppy, but ever since the whole Kobe incident happened, it's like that almost inspired him to be the player that he like.
He's averaging 48.
He's been putting up major points. Mm-hmm. He's been having like career games since Kobe.
Portland's
died.
also like
they'll get Nurkic back.
They've been beating a lot of good teams.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think Portland slips into like a 6th seed. I think they can go in and beat just about any team in the West minus the LAs. I really do. And I think they could beat the Clippers.
I was going to say the Clippers are good, but they have the Clippers can easily play bad.
Yeah, but
the Clippers,
Kawhi time playoff.
The Clippers just can't play down to any team. They don't have a distinct advantage over weaker teams.
Yeah. Which is bad because Portland's going to come in as a 6th seed.
Well, Kawhi's always been like that, though. When he was in Toronto last year, you saw him play great against good teams and all right against bad teams.
Also, I'm sorry, this is a little side note. You mentioned Kawhi, but it kind of bothers me that Kawhi, people are talking about Kawhi for MVP just because of his name.
No, he shouldn't even be near MVP.
Someone's like, oh, he got a triple-double, MVP. It's like
he could have been MVP last year.
One good game. No.
Yeah, no.
I think it's going to Giannis, Luka, or Luka, LeBron, or Giannis.
Opening up on baseball, I just want to talk about Mookie Betts for a second because there's a lot of talk. As of right now, on Monday, February 3rd, he has not been traded to either the San Diego Padres or the Los Angeles Dodgers. However, if he does get traded to either of those teams, there are major consequences in fantasy value, I think, that need to be taken into account. It's honestly, it's just going to be weird thinking of Mookie Betts in any other uniform than a Red Sox uniform. I mean, he won a World Series with the team. He didn't look like the same player last year. He could have a really good bounce back year this year, I think. But if he does get traded to San Diego or Los Angeles, there are major things that not even to do with Mookie himself, but the sort of environmental factors that surround the trade. Going to the West, you don't play those teams as much. You're not knowing the pitchers that are out there as well as you do than in the East. If you get traded to an East Coast team, whether it's in the division or out of the division in the East, at least you've played those teams a little bit more than West Coast teams. But if Mookie gets traded to San Diego or Los Angeles, he might have a bit of a harder time picking up the pitches and getting a gauge on what the pitchers are like out there. I think for a little bit at least, a bit of an adjustment time, if you want to call it that. Another thing I think moving out to San Diego or Los Angeles will do, better hitting parks in the East. There are way better hitting parks in the East. I know Nigel and I are Yankees fans, and we get just railed on all year by every other fan in the league saying, well, you have a short porch in Yankee Stadium to hit in. Well, it's the same for any other team hitting in the division. If you're a Boston Red Sox team that gets to play in the Yankee Stadium more than any other team that isn't in the division in the league, you're benefiting from it too. So if Mookie moves out to San Diego or Los Angeles, he's not really going to have that same advantage that you'd have in Yankee Stadium. Fenway is a good hitting park, I think, in the East.
For left-handed hitters.
Yeah. The Rogers Center in Toronto is a good hitting park, I think.
Home Run Central.
Home Run Central.
I will never not call that the Sky Dome.
Oh, yeah.
Camden Yards in Baltimore is a good hitting park. I love Camden Yards. Whenever they go to Camden Yards, for whatever reason, the Yankees watch a Baltimore versus New York game, there's something about Camden Yards that just makes me sad because Baltimore is such a shitty team, but their park is so nice. There's just something about that park that makes me want to go there and watch a game live. That's pretty much my outlook on Mookie. I mean, he's a great player. I think he could have a real bounce-back year this year. He had a bad year last year, wasn't very valuable for fantasy, but if he does get moved to San Diego or Los Angeles this year, I think the park hitting value could affect him a little bit for home runs at least.
The only thing you got to consider is what if you get the Mookie from last year? Like, what if he just falls?
That is a real possibility. You know, it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen a hitter like Mookie Betts just kind of fall off. I mean, he had a great year in the World Series run that the Red Sox did, but if he just falls off completely, then, I mean, there's nothing that you can really do about that. So, fantasy-wise, definitely watch out for Mookie Betts going out west this year if he gets moved to San Diego or Los Angeles. Like I said, as of this recording, he has not been moved yet, but there are very close talks from what I've read between Los Angeles and Boston or San Diego and Boston. Moving into that, though, I'd like to talk about the MLB postseason watch, talking about the Padres, but also talking about the White Sox, which I talked about last week, the Cincinnati Reds, the Los Angeles Angels with their new addition of Anthony Rendon, Dylan Bundy also from the Baltimore Orioles. Maybe he had a bit of a rough time in Baltimore. His ERA was over 4, probably about 4.5, something like that. I think he could see a real improvement in Los Angeles maybe come into his own a little bit more. I know when some of these young pitchers, young players in any fantasy sport get traded to a new team, sometimes they do have a bit of a new spurt of energy, a bit of an environment change. Things start opening up and things start working for them. Could work with Mookie, like I said, too. But postseason watch, back to that. The Reds, the Cincinnati Reds, their last World Series win was in 1990. The White Sox, like I talked about last week, their last World Series win was in 2005. The Padres have never won a World Series, and the Angels have never won a World Series since 2002. So could any of these teams really make the playoffs this year?
White Sox.
Can I just make a comment that I think the White Sox as well? Can I make a comment that the Reds have wasted the career of Joey Votto and the Angels are sort of kind of wasting the career of Mike Trout?
I honestly, Because I'm going to say the Cincinnati Reds don't make it just because they're in Ohio, which is, outside of Detroit, the most depressing state right now for sports. I think the White Sox can do it. If the Angels play their cards right, I think they can. I don't have faith in the Padres. Like,
what if they land Mookie Betts?
Even then, like,
I wanted to make a point that you were saying about guys from the AL East going to other divisions. Excuse me. Manny Machado went to the Padres from the Orioles. From 2015 to 2018, Manny Machado was an absolute stud, right? Top 3 to 5 third baseman in the league. Okay? This guy goes to San Diego. He has, don't get me wrong, not a bad year. Pretty decent year. But it's his worst average.
He's underperforming.
Yeah. It is his worst batting average that he's ever had in his career, and the lowest number of home runs that he's ever hit once he hit 2015 when he wasn't a super young kid.
Yeah.
He had 32 home runs, still solid, but the lowest that he's ever hit. And 256 is just not a good enough average for that guy that caliber.
For a guy getting paid that much money.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like the same could happen to Mookie Betts, which worries me for his career.
Yeah, Mookie Betts going out there, like I said, the park factors obviously could have a big part to do with it. Intriguing international player signings. Now, not many people know the names that I'm going to be talking about, but for fantasy baseball managers, I'd kind of keep these names in mind. This year, like other years in the past, we've seen some Japanese and South Korean pitchers, outfielders, whatever the position may be, come over from the Japanese baseball league and get signed by teams like this year, the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals. It has worked out in the past for teams to pick up these players. That's not to say that they're going to be stars when they get here. I mean, they put up good numbers in the Japanese league. It doesn't always translate to the MLB because it's a completely different baseball league, completely different country, culture, whatever you want to call it. But it has worked out in some instances. We have, Ichiro, we have Shohei Ohtani, we have Masahiro Tanaka on the Yankees, we have Kenta Maeda, we have oodles of Japanese, South Korean pitching and fielding that have come over and proven to be great pieces on teams. And some of the pieces that have been added this year, Reds signed Shogo Akiyama, a 31, going to be turning 32 this year. He had a 303 batting average in the Japanese league, an 864 OPS, 12 stolen bases, and 20 home runs last season. That's in the Japanese league. Like I said, it doesn't always translate to the MLB in the way that you might think it does because, like I said, there's a language barrier, different culture, different baseball league, completely different game. But for fantasy managers out there who are looking to take a gamble on someone this season that could show up, could be the difference maker in your team, look at Shogo Akiyama. I mean, the Reds, they're not going to be a powerhouse team this year, but they're going to be better than they have in the past. They have Jesse Winker out in the outfield. They have, pieces coming left and right. They've had a good offseason, and then they pick up Shogo Akiyama. I'd pick up Shogo Akiyama. The Cardinals, they signed starting pitcher Kwang Hyun Kim from South Korea, 31 years old, like Shogo Akiyama, turning 32 this year, I think. A 2.51 ERA in 30 starts, 180 Ks and 190 innings pitched. That is a good pitcher. Does it translate to the big leagues? He could turn out to be someone like a Hyunjin Ryu that just got signed in Toronto. He could turn out to be a Masahiro Tanaka. They come in, they're a bit older, they're a bit more mature. They sometimes can keep these stats up. Do I say these two players that I mentioned, Shogo Akiyama, Kwang Hyun Kim, are they going to be great players? I don't know. Are they worth taking a risk on? I definitely say take a risk on Shogo Akiyama. A 303 batting average and an 864 OPS is kind of too good to ignore, even if it is a bit of a risk. But for someone like Kwang Hyun Kim, a 2.5 ERA, is that really going to hold up in the MLB? Is that really a good risk to take, especially when it's a pitcher? That I'm not so sure about. So moving on to hockey, I know you guys are probably chomping at the bit to get on hockey because you don't really like baseball.
It's not that we don't like baseball. It's just we have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah, well, you definitely know. You don't know who I'm talking about when I'm talking about
Japanese baseball.
Kwang Hyun Kim.
Shogo Akiyama.
So yeah, let's go.
Sure, he's great.
The other day, some news came out about the Arizona Coyotes testing like physicals for players prior to the combine. So if you don't follow hockey too hard and you don't understand, this is cheating if they're found out to do it. You cannot
test players before the NHL combine, and that is essentially what they are accused of doing.
It's like bringing in your test review to the test.
It's very interesting because I was telling like Jake and Greg last night, their punishment's going to be awkward because like they really can't be punished for the upcoming draft if they're not be guilty because they don't own their first round pick. Their first round pick was sent to New Jersey in the Taylor Hall trade. So they're going to have to be punished in the 2021 if they're found guilty, unless you just strip like some thirds and seconds. But
I don't know, Nudge. The punishment is going to be there if they are found guilty of doing what they were doing.
It's just interesting.
It's an interesting thing, yeah. But is it really something that hinders or takes away from the essence of the game of hockey? Not really. Like you're testing players before you should. Okay, that's not allowed, but you're not gonna give a punishment like you did to the Astros.
No, but
Phoenix.
like there's gonna have to be a punishment.
There's gonna have to be a punishment
because there is the bonus of if you've done the physical on the guy and you realize, oh, I don't need to look at him at the combine anymore. I can focus on these other people. And like if you can find your diamond in the rough, then that could be your advantage. Like I don't think it'll be a big punishment. I just think it's interesting to look at like if they were to go to the point of taking draft picks, that would be a big hit.
Yeah, to the point of taking draft picks, yeah, it would be a big punishment to hand out. But honestly, I think if they are found to be guilty, they might get a fine. Something might happen to the actual upper management because it's not really a player's issue. Draft picks in the future, yeah, I can see them maybe taking away draft picks in next year's draft, but they can't really give out anything for the time being. Like they don't even have a first round pick in the upcoming draft. So that's really what I think is going to happen there.
That's like, that was unheard. Like I bet you teams have probably done it, but it's like, I haven't really heard in recent years of that being done. So when I heard originally, I like the headline I saw was Arizona cheating. And I was like, okay, cheating in the sport of hockey, like in a sport that takes a lot of constant motion's a little harder. So then when I read it, I was like, oh, okay. Like, basketball's another one, because those constant motion sports, it's a lot harder to cheat than your stop and starts.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's almost like a domino effect, though. I mean, the Astros scandal came out. Maybe that kind of gave light to cheating in other sports. I have no idea how this kind of
probably
came
just a coincidence, but the fact is it's cheating and it should be dealt with no matter like what. No matter.
I just don't know how Phoenix expected to get away with this if this is found out to be true. I mean, how do you expect to get away with testing players?
Why would you do that, though?
Hold up, I got a weird plot twist theory. Maybe they didn't do it and then they accused themselves to make the Arizona Coyotes actually relevant. Like, they might be winning games.
They're having a good year, man.
Yeah, but nobody in the state of Arizona gives a shit.
But why would you want bad press?
I was going to say...
all press is good
All
press.
publicity is good publicity.
But that's
not to your hometown fans.
That's... Like, the only people going to watch Arizona Coyotes games are Arizona people.
But look at they're not... Yeah, but look at the city of Houston. They're rallying behind the Astros.
Yeah, but because that had a strong fan base anyway.
And they won a World Series.
Ignorantly.
They're not... Arizona has not won a Stanley Cup.
The Coyotes are literally nice, just like saying, hey, fans, come finally support your team because we're cheating bastards.
That just doesn't make sense, Nigel. I'm sorry. I get what you're saying. All publicity.
It's an accusation.
All publicity is good publicity, but league wide maybe. But
I get it. It's just I doubt it's real.
Like your hometown fans aren't going to like that, and that's all that they have going to the stadium. So like,
another big thing that we saw that I was reading up on earlier today in hockey was Dustin Byfuglien wants out of Winnipeg. But I was just reading it's not going to be by a trade. They're going to mutually terminate his contract.
I did read that too.
New Jersey has cap room, and we used to steal Thrashers players, so let's steal a Jet. Come on, Dusty, come to New Jersey.
He would never.
Listen.
Man, why would he ever go to New Jersey when he could probably go to like a cup contending
skate
team?
in quicksand with PK Subban?
Can you let me like dream?
He fits in Pittsburgh.
Shut up.
He does.
I hate to, yeah.
He does, Nigel.
I do not need.
You need that guy that
I
can
don't
go
want
around.
the Pens to
and
win another cup.
Why not, bitch?
I'm tired of it.
Yeah, exactly.
The Penguins need a guy that can go around and
murder,
just hit people.
Yeah,
like,
Dusty Buff can do that.
They don't really have that guy. Did they used to have LaRock in Pittsburgh?
Yeah,
I think
when
they
Crosby
did.
was like a rookie.
Yeah,
I remember when they had Mariam Hossa, and then when they lost to the Red Wings, he went to the Red Wings just to lose to the Penguins.
I hate Marian Hossa, one of my least favorite hockey players of all time.
And then he went to the Blackhawks and finally won something.
He kind of reminds me of Ilya Kovalchuk.
Man, no,
a successful Ilya Kovalchuk.
Mariam Hossa was like he was the OG Kevin Durant, except lost. Get beat, go to the other team.
But here's the thing: Kevin Durant made
he won a cup in Chicago.
Marian
No, but
Hossa,
I'm saying like that situation, like, oh, the Red Wings beat me. Oh, like I'm gonna go to the Red Wings and then shit the bed. Like he did the KD move, except
that was
lost.
at the tail end of his career.
Not really. That was 2009. Like he played till like 2015, I think.
Yeah, but
that's still 6 years.
Kevin Durant was in his prime when he left OKC.
I'm just saying, like, the situation where, like, if you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah. Anyways, that's just intriguing because Byfuglien can be an incredible addition to any team that is looking to make a run in the playoffs or looking to make a final push to make the playoffs. And that leads into something that I was kind of interested in talking about, fellas. As of right now, as I see it, I don't think a Canadian team has a good shot at winning.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about Canadian teams. This Battle of Alberta bullshit that's going on, and I'm talking about good bullshit, by the way.
I love it. I love it.
Battle of Alberta
Any
shit
goalie fight
fires me up, dude.
Is the best thing to happen to Canadian sports in a long fucking time, because these two teams in Alberta, Edmonton and Calgary, have had nothing to cheer about in the last 10 years.
Calgary's just trying to stay relevant, man.
I mean, Edmonton has had the acquisitions of great players, but they haven't been able to do anything with them.
They're making, man, this year they're the only Canadian team that I can see doing any damage in the playoffs. Even though the Canucks are first in the Pacific, I cannot see it happening.
But it's the Pacific, man.
I don't care. I don't
see the Canucks doing like going far in the playoffs, and even if they do, it just means Vancouver's going to tear itself apart again. So do we really want that? I could see the Oilers are electric enough. I could see them doing damage, but I wouldn't count the Flames out. Like they're not playing horrible.
I would count them out.
Once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. Though, who the hell expected the Canes to go sweep?
The problem with the Flames is that they have good goaltending. It's almost like it's the same situation with Edmonton. They have good goaltending, but they don't have great goaltending, and it's a problem. I mean, not many teams, especially Canadian teams, have great goaltending this year.
No, the only Canadian team, actually, no Canadian team in the East has a shot. Sorry, Leafs fans. You don't.
They make the playoffs. They're not doing anything with it.
No, God, no.
No, they're just going to meet Boston.
They're the New Jersey Devils with offense. They still can't stop anything, like, defensive-wise. Like, that's the best.
Realistically, though, when you look at the goaltending across all Canadian teams right now, and you look at Vancouver, they probably have the best goaltending out of all Canadian teams. They have Markstrom. Then you go to Edmonton. They have Smith, who sucks. He's a terrible goaltender. I know, and you're gonna
just old as hell.
You're gonna rag on me for this. He's actually my player of the week, even though I'm calling him a terrible goaltender. The only reason he is my player of the week is because he started that goalie fight in the Battle of Alberta. Then you look at Calgary. They have Cam Talbot, good goaltender, not great. You go to Montreal. Carey Price
is
old. He was a great goaltender.
Prime Carey Price was dirty.
They didn't do anything with the prime of his career that had him on top of all goaltending in the NHL. You go to Toronto, they have Frederik Andersen. They have no defense to back them up. They're like, what? They're one of the worst teams in the league for shots allowed, and Canadian hockey teams just have no real answer for goaltending. I mean, you go to the States and look at all their teams, and
that's what wins you the playoffs, though.
Yeah,
Binnington last year.
Like
yeah, I know.
Benny won for the Blues. The year the Caps won, Hopi played nuts.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we have
Marc-Andre Fleury brought the
Vegas Knights.
Vegas.
And
He revived his career way back with those Pens runs. Fleury played really well.
You need goaltending
Corey
to win
Crawford
a cup.
was playing lights out when he was with the
Blackhawks.
Marty Brodeur won. Like, single-handedly carried the Devils to 3 cups.
All those years that Pittsburgh won the cup, who would they have in that? Marc-Andre Fleury.
There was
all
the
those
one year
years that
they had Murray there. What was
They
his
had Murray
name?
the last time they won the
They
cup.
had Los Angeles winning the cup.
With Johnny Quick.
John Quick
was
in
a
his
star.
prime.
There was
Dominic Hasek when the Wings were winning.
Dominic
that's what I was thinking
Hasek,
of.
Chris Osgood, like Jimmy Howard. Like, they had goaltending in these teams that won cups. There's just no goaltending in any of these Canadian teams that's strong enough, with the exception of maybe Vancouver. But even then, I think Vancouver gets trampled in the first round. I'm sorry, but like,
They
that's
can't
just
keep up. I don't think they can keep up with the other teams in the West.
They'd be playing the Flames right now.
I could see Calgary pulling some funky shit. Like, the playoffs are in any
Johnny
sport
Hawk.
are
Johnny
a weird
Hawk. He's a
place.
stud.
Johnny Hockey is a stud.
Like,
I
the
love Johnny
playoffs
Gaudreau.
in all sports are a weird place.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, we seen it happen last year. Nobody fucking thought that the St. Louis Blues of all teams would win the cup, let alone even make the playoffs. And what did they do? They won the cup.
Who thought the New York
Once you're in,
Islanders
you're
would
in.
sweep the Pens, and who thought the Canes would be playing in the Cup Finals after double sweeping?
yeah.
Like, that's nuts.
No, we took the Canes for granted. Like, the Capitals took the Canes for granted, and I'm pissed that we did. But like, there's nothing you can really do about it. They proved the NHL that as long as you're in the playoffs, you can win. And it's like, people have been saying it forever, but really.
Speaking of the Carolina Hurricanes, this will lead into our debate topic for the week, because they are known for their celebrations. And our debate topic this week was spurred by an article I saw somebody shared on Facebook about like how the sportsmanship of sports is being ruined by celebrations. So that's going to be our debate topic of the week. So what's your guys' opinion on that?
I like celebrating. I mean, celebrating, obviously, it needs to appear in context. You can't just go out and celebrate every goal like 05 Ovechkin and
You can't just
expect
moon
to walk
Lambo.
away.
You can't just moon Lambo like Randy Moss for no reason.
Yeah, that was dirty.
Like-
Or like, see, I think
See, Nigel, if a Packer would have done that in the Viking Stadium, you would have been like, yeah, man, I loved it. That's some fire.
No, like, but I don't think my personal opinion. I think there's a line drawn in the stand, like the profanity and like the sex acts, all that. Get that out, but like the guys having fun out there, like playing duck, duck, goose. If you don't like them doing that, stop them. Like, you have the power to stop them. Do it. You are a paid athlete. If you can't compete, they can then they can do it.
I gotta be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the end zone celebrations in the National Football League.
Some of them are really dumb.
Some of them are so corny, man. Like, you're like my the one that I hate is when they all get together, and the one that I hate with every ounce of my body is when a defense gets a pick and they all run down to the end zone. They all get in for this
celebrate
like gang
a touchdown.
picture. You're stupid.
Sure. But like, when you get a fumble, don't run to the end zone. I think celebrate touchdowns, goals. Throw your celebration after you get a slam dunk.
There
'cause
are
that looks
limits.
nice.
There are limits.
Oh yeah.
I love trash talk. I love the chirps. I rather chirp than
Oh man, if I could get a mic'd up show of like every professional sport out there,
I'd watch every episode.
I would
of it.
watch so much mic'd up TV. Some of the players that they mic up for these little segments they do on sports channels, like, they're so good.
My opinion on mic'd up like trash talk is the same though. If you obviously don't be a huge don't throw racial slurs and that kind of stuff. But
No, that's
if you don't like the trash talk, do something about it. Like, a lot of people crap on Jalen Ramsey because he's got a big mouth. But if he's locking you down, that's your problem.
I see what you're saying, but like at the same time, if you're going to do something about it, that usually turns into fines and suspension.
I don't mean fight him. I mean beat him on the like. If he calls you trash and you're upset about it, and you don't beat him.
But in the moment, you're not going to be, oh, I'm going to beat him on the field. I'm going to knock this guy's block off because he just got in my face.
But like, that's the goal of trash talking. Like if you're trash talking, that's what you want.
Yeah, but I mean, you see it with the whole Mason Rudolph kind of shit. I mean, it wasn't the same really thing with the whole trash talk aspect. I'm not sure there was trash talk involved, but it's the same. It's the same situation. You get someone in your face in the heat of the moment. You're all pumped up. Adrenaline gets into your decision making, and you just hit a guy. Like
that's what that's what their goal is, though. Like they get in your face, they say things because if you're short tempered, they know you're gonna swing, and you're out of the game.
Yeah,
that's why
sometimes
Randy Moss used to do it. Randy Moss knew because he was physically better than 90% of the people in the NFL, but he also knew, okay, you throw a punch at me, you leave. Like if you can get a star player heated. That is one of the easiest ways to throw them.
One of my favorite things in sports is when someone who's being insanely cocky gets burned, a.k.a. Josh Norman. Every game.
Yeah, that guy went from like a stud to trash.
He was a stud for 1 year. He was trash before then. He had one good year, and then he was trash after that.
To be fair, though, that guy hustled the Washington Redskins into $25 million, I think,
I feel like anyone could.
Yeah, Dan Snyder's an idiot.
I mean... Pro sports needs the energy of celebrations. Pro sports needs personalities. Pro sports needs people that actually play those sports to get involved with what they've done in the game, get involved in their own accomplishments. But when it comes to the point of looking like a jackass, making your team look like a bunch of idiots, or just being downright disrespectful, that's when it obviously turns. Like, I mean, the Bregman carrying the bat to first base thing in the World Series, Juan Soto copied him. And, of course, Juan Soto, after the game, was questioned about it. And people were asking, well, why did you do the same thing? I mean, a lot of people are speaking out about this whole Bregman carrying the bat to first base. It's a really douchey move. Why did you do this? And Juan Soto kind of responded, well, I thought it was cool, so I did it myself. Personally, I think Juan Soto did it just to make it look even dumber than it might have looked the first time, to kind of make Bregman look even worse. So when you're mocking someone's celebration that they did before, I think that's fine.
My celebration's less about like the being cocky. Mine's more I enjoy like the ones that are fun. Like there was one last year I thought was really funny. It's like the NFL, like they scored a touchdown, and I think it was they went and they like imitated bobsledding, and I was like, okay. Like, you're out there having fun. Like,
I still think they're stupid. Those are stupid and corny. I don't like them.
I prefer... Yeah. I like watching them have fun because that's what... Like, when you dumb down... Like, that... If you dumb down sports to the point where these guys can't have fun on the field, which Roger Goodell has tried to do...
I think that
there's celebrating, and then there's like staging a whole fucking charade.
I think that the best celebration is like genuine like celebration when you score a touchdown where everyone's jumping.
It's a sense of accomplishment when you actually stage something in advance. But when you're like rowing a boat or like playing a game of bowling, you thought about it. Right, which means you're attention-starving. It's a dick move. I mean, what you are. You're attention-hungry like arsehole who's going around in practice, going to all his teammates, like, man. If I score a touchdown, can you guys all line up like bowling pins, and I can throw the ball and you fall over? Because you know damn well that's what they're doing. Yeah, when you dissect a celebration like that, there was planning.
Yeah, there's no way there's no way that everyone's just like, oh yeah, this is like a musical. Like we're all just gonna break out in this goddamn. We're all gonna be bowling.
Flash mob or something like. Yeah, it's pre.
They're just downright stupid.
My least favorite celebration that's been done multiple times is the pissing dog on the pylon. That one's just like ignorant. But I understand. I enjoy the simple celebrations too. The Lambeau Leap. The Texans, I think it's after scores, sing "Friends in Low Places." Like,
yeah, I rather see that than a 5'7" asshole in the
Washington Redskins yell "Sell the team, Dan Snyder" every time something happens.
There's celebrating in sports, and then there's being electric. And honestly, the thing that drew me to being a Caps fan the most when I was like 5 and 6 years old was seeing Alex Ovechkin jump on the boards and being so like he was excited after he scored every single goal for that 2 or 3 years that he just started playing hockey in the NHL. That was so fun to watch. Obviously, he wouldn't do it now. He doesn't do it now that he's like, you know, entering his mid-30s. But when I seen that Russian kid just jump on the boards, do all this crazy shit. He did one behind the net where he was putting his hands over his stick because, you know, the whole fire on getting his hands warm.
My favorite
thing.
hockey celebration will always be ride the stick, like ride the pony.
It's just like it's a different thing when you're an electric player and you can kind of own that sort of celebrating style where it's not to the point of being a dick. It's just I'm living in the moment. I'm being a great player and I'm celebrating myself for what I've done. But when you do a Nail Yakupov sliding on your knees across center ice after you score your second goal in a blowout against like Anaheim or something, that is way different. That is like jackass level shit. Like
that's another reason like I'm a Packers fan, but that's why I love like all Rogers' celebration was just the championship belt, and I loved that because it wasn't like you weren't like he wasn't making a horse's ass. It was literally like a real quick motion, and when he was doing it, he was arguably the best quarterback in the league. And it's like those simple ones that'll still get the credit. It was like the Gronk spike. Like it's simple as all hell, but oh my God, did everybody love it?
Fired up, right?
That's like George Kittle now. George Kittle, like that's why I love the Niners. They don't go. All they do is they get in a big huddle and one of them spikes the ball. And George Kittle is the best teammate in the world because he runs around screaming and hyping everybody up.
Yeah.
There's no like. It's just
there's no
scripted.
There's no Joe Horn pulling a cell phone or Michael Thomas pulling a cell phone or the goddamn under the padding of the goalpost. Or OBJ pissing on the fucking and Tyreek Hill pissing on the touchdown pylon.
Yeah,
I think now we should probably wrap it up soon and maybe go to our players of the week. I know I already mentioned mine earlier.
You may as well go into it then.
Mike Smith is my player of the week. Goalie for the Edmonton Oilers. Did I call him a shitty goaltender earlier? Yeah, I did. I really did, and I still think he is a shitty goaltender. But you know what he did? This week, he reignited, if it wasn't already ignited enough, when Cassian and Tkachuk fought in their first game of the week, the second game of the week, when Mike Smith skated to center ice, called Talbot out, and fought, that just cemented the whole reignition of the rivalry between Calgary and Edmonton. I loved it. It was a great move by him. I mean, people say you got to get rid of fighting in hockey. Go to hell. Go to hell.
Leave.
Seriously.
Get out.
If you can't enjoy a goalie fight.
But I agree. Okay, you might call him a shitty goaltender, but any goalie who gets into a fight, man, they're high in my books.
But he's still a shitty goaltender.
Oh yeah, he can't save a puck to save his life.
No, but he's
gonna throw a fist.
But he's one of the fucking boys.
Like,
did I ever?
Mike Smith is like he couldn't stop a beach ball some nights. Like,
well, transition to my player of the week, which is also still in hockey and is also my player of the week from our first podcast. It's Alexander Ovechkin.
See, I'm not even needing to be a homer here because Nigel does it for me.
Well, okay, but to be fair, this is 2 days ago. Alex Ovechkin scored, I believe, goal 659 to pass Mark Messier as 8th total scoring. He's now, I think, 200 or less from Gretzky's goal record.
Well,
I think Ovi legit hits that. Like at the rate he's going now.
At the rate he's going, man,
I think he hits it. And like stopping. As much I'm not a Caps fan, but I've always loved Ovi. So like I'm gonna give him a shout out when I can.
Yeah. My players of the week are coming from 2 different sports.
He said players were no shit.
Yeah. First one. I might say this wrong. Gerardo Piqué. And the second is Alex Rodriguez. Because I'll tell you some, bitch. Those hips do not lie. Are you kidding me? We were not talking about that Super Bowl halftime show. I haven't been able to see straight since I watched those things shake, man. Are you kidding me?
I've been waiting all podcast.
Woo!
for Greg to finally start talking about the halftime show because his eyes, I swear to God, lit up when he seen Shakira and J-Lo in unison on stage. Oh my God, he was a kid in the candy
Greg
store.
was over here watching it last night, and my God, I'm like, there was reacting to
Let's
the
watch
halftime show.
Let's watch the level of exposing here.
And then there was the Greg's enjoyment of the halftime show. Like, I think Greg actually, his eyes rolled into the back of his head, and Greg might have died and came back to life.
But I mean, it was
J-Lo could resuscitate me anytime she wants, man. I'll tell you that for free.
Oh my
Man, I'm just gonna say this. I didn't think I was gonna like that halftime show. I actually enjoyed it.
It was actually
a
solid.
good performance.
Yeah.
Well, the year before it put the bar like as low as it could come off the ground. So like, as long as they didn't sound like hot shit, they were fine. And
So let's wrap this baby up.
So that's pretty much it for this week. Next week, not sure what the debate topic is as usual, but we'll find out and get back to you on that. That's all for episode 3. My name's Jacob.
my name's Nigel.
And I'm Greg.
And that's been the Backroom Beer League. See you next week.